Hello and God bless all you nice, loving, wide-awake people out there in the world who've joined the nice, wonderful walk away movement. We decided today we'd try to do a video, considering that we wrote some testimonies and sent them out, and we're watching all the different things that people say, and they're just so inspiring and beautiful, and we're grateful to be a part of this and to be able to contribute to this. And so we decided to all of us make a video presentation of some of the things that we've learned and seen. And the main thing, I guess, the point of these videos is we're supposed to show that we're not Russian bots, which I think is a lot of nonsense anyway. I don't believe in anything to do with Russian bots. Anyone who's my age, and I'm 54, and that's been around this world knows that all governments spy on each other. All of us have always known this. We've always known that our phone calls are listened in on. We've always known that, all governments conduct these kind of activities. So every time that the Democrats come on TV, like that pitiful trial yesterday, where every Democrat in the room stood up for this treasonous FBI agent and claimed that how patriotic they are and love the FBI, while they at the same time are protesting to abolish ICE and attack our regular police officers who save lives every day. It's just complete hypocrisy, which I think is what drove a lot of people here to this site. And we want to give love and prayers out to you, Brandon, and to all the people that came up with this concept. And it's really a God-inspired thing. I don't know how many people really believe that, but I think most of us do. And it just goes to show, and it's interesting because we've been in healing ministry for over 22 years. And we understand a lot of the nature of what's going on with all this. So many people are confused as to why there's so many lies and so much seething hatred and so much attack. And we noticed that a lot of this was started by Brandon being part of the homosexual community, and that was a thing that I think shocked him into waking up, is seeing the violence and the hatred and the spewing that was coming out of the mouths of his fellow people that were homosexuals. And it shocked him, and it shocked him awake, and a lot of people are being shocked awake. I lived on this earth 54 years so far, lived all over the country, and I've never seen people be prejudiced. I've lived everywhere. I've lived in all the major cities, all over. I know that bad things go on and there are people that are mean and hateful, but there's very little of that. Most Americans get along really good, are glad to be here. If anything, maybe some people are spoiled because they've had too easy a life living here. And the people that you see on this site giving these beautiful, inspired witnesses that have come from the other countries, they're the ones that know how lucky we are to have what we have here. And that's amazing. When it comes to understanding what's going on with the way people are acting, it's easy to see what's going on. It's good versus evil. And it's not hypothetical good versus evil, it's spiritual warfare. And throughout my life of being in healing ministry, this started with my getting Lyme disease in 1994. When you have Lyme disease, believe it or not, you're attacked for being sick. It's the same way people with AIDS at the beginning were attacked for being sick. They were called deviants, and they were called, it was put on them like it was their fault that they got sick. Well, it's kind of the same thing with Lyme disease in a different way. Anyone that has it goes to doctors, and the doctors immediately refuse to treat you. If they do treat you, they undertreat you. They lie to you in multiple ways. Most countries all around the world don't even bother to give people any antibiotics for what really is a bacterial infection. So those of us in the Lyme community, we have our own community that's worldwide. And we're used to being attacked. We're used to going through 15, 20, 25, 30 doctors and having the doctors be cruel to us, more than cruel. They accuse you of faking it. They accuse you of being an attention seeker, these types of things. When you have people in your own family and your own husbands or wives or loved ones or friends attack you, then you understand it more. And it's the same thing when you become a Christian, and especially if you're involved in something like pro-life ministry or healing ministry, you find out what a spiritual attack is. What's going on with Donald Trump is a humongous, outrageous spiritual attack. How outrageous? It's so outrageous that he's being cursed by witches and Satanists all around the world monthly. And I saw this on the website Vigilant Citizen. And Lana Del Rey was on there and doing some witches sign. And I know there's good and bad witches. I know some nice witches. There's good and bad in every group of people, even with the Democrats, My wife and I both were primarily Democrats our whole life, and usually believed what other people believed, but they cared more about the poor, what everyone says on here. that the Republicans were these old rich white guys that cared about money more. Always believed that was true. I still believe it's true. But looking back at the Democrats, there's always been just as many evil ones of them, really. Other than Jimmy Carter, who seemed like a really good guy that cared. Just a caring man, you know. He's been the best ex-president, I think. But with Obama, it was difficult to discern, like so many people say. We just didn't know what to do when it came to him. Because if you're a Catholic Christian like we are, you know, they always tell you the main thing that you should worry about is pro-life. Everyone that's in the pro-life movement, I would say a vast majority don't want to take the right away from a woman to have an abortion because that is their right. And if there's a doctor willing to do it, of course they want to go to a doctor and not go to some underground place somewhere. So, I mean, this is the devil's perfect catch-22. You know, it's someone having the right to do something. No one should dictate you what rights you have and don't have. This is America. So it's a trap. And in the Catholic Church, we're very strongly pro-life. We're also very strongly in support of complete respect for homosexuals. We're also full of homosexuals in the Catholic Church, running the Catholic Church, and in all the other churches. And there's actually more pedophilia and more horrible things that have gone on in the other denominations. There's numerically more Baptists that have done this than Catholics. Catholics get the bad rap because they get the media coverage. It's the last great prejudice in this country is against Catholics. And if you study the history of America, you'll find there's been a war on the middle class all throughout its history. There's been a war against the Irish. There's been a war against each new batch of immigrants that comes here. And of course, there's been a consistent attack against Hispanics and black people. In recent years, that can sort of translate over to gay people. It's different. That whole situation is different, you know. But the point is, you know, the rule of war is divide and conquer. And to divide and conquer is what every army tries to do. Many times in the Bible, Jesus says that, you know, Satan is not divided. Look at the Democratic Party. They're not divided. They went there in that hearing yesterday for Peter Strzok, and they sat there and lied, every single one of them. And they, you know, said he deserves a Purple Heart and all this stuff. 50 years ago, that guy would have been before the firing squad for treason, or in an electric chair, or in a gas chamber. All these people that have done all these things the Democrats have done. That includes Hillary. That includes the cheating that was done against Bernie, who would have won, and would have probably beat Trump because all the young people would have showed up. So they defeated themselves, the same way Russia defeated themselves. Russia was not defeated by Ronald Reagan like so many Republicans like to talk about how great he was. Well, he was not a saint. He was a guy that went out to Bohemian Grove like all the other old rich Republicans. Bohemian Grove is a place in Southern California in the Redwoods. The people, the top movers and shakers of the world go out there. They pray before a giant owl statue called Moloch, just like Moloch in the Bible that God our Father says about 1,000 times to not worship. They have human sacrifice rituals that take place out there. They're supposedly fake. They probably are fake. Alex Jones, who does go way overboard at times, did an expose where he snuck in there and filmed it. Well, that was real. And like everything, you can't just be an extremist and say it's all this way or all that way. You've got to meet in the middle, which is what the people on this site and in the Republican Party at this point in history are trying to do, is be balanced, trying to present things from a more honest perspective. The Democrats and the leftists are not being balanced. Not even one I can think of. There's a few that pretend to be balanced to try to stay in power or have their votes. But, you know, you see with each vote and with each thing that's gone on since Trump got in, they've lost their minds, like everyone said. So many people on here acting shocked that they're freaking out over Trump. I have a video where Newt Gingrich is sitting and talking, and he's explaining in this like 30-second clip that the Republicans were freaking out over Trump because he's a guy that can't be controlled, and he came so far as to actually state he's not part of their secret societies. He hasn't gone through their initiation rites. Well, that's what Freemasons do, and that's who's run this country since its inception. This country is not a Christian nation like people think. Yeah, there's a lot of Christians here, and a lot of varying denominations and belief systems, but they've been very anti-Catholic from the beginning. They've been very anti a lot of things from the beginning. They've never wanted the middle class, and they've warred against it. They've sent the poor off to fight wars. You know, around the turn of the century, you could pay $300 and have your child not be sent to war, or else they'd be drafted. So, I mean, there's just horrible stuff you can look up and go back in time and study and find out. The thing about Trump is he's freaking everyone out. He's freaking out the Republicans. He's freaking out the Democrats. Hillary, we knew was bad from the start. There was like not even a question that we would ever vote for her because she was evil. There's no other word for it. But she's a criminal. She's inept. She's very physically sick. We know because we have Lyme disease that if she either has Lyme disease or a disease like it, because she's coherent and very quick-minded and quick-tongued certain days and humorous, and other days she's so out of it she can't think straight. She cheated during the debates. She cheated using this little hidden teleprompter in her podium. And there's a video on YouTube about that. You can see it, and it's not staged. There's no question it's real. She was reading off this little teleprompter, and it's unbelievable, right in front of how many 100 million people watching, or however many were watching those debates. So Trump winning was an actual miracle. When I saw him run, all we knew about Donald Trump at the time, was his apprentice stuff and his being a billionaire and all that. But several years ago, we had seen him on TV, and he was talking. And he was saying, I have these friends with these kids. And these kids went to the doctors and got immunizations. And they were total, healthy, happy, normal children. And within days or weeks, they were dead or crippled or damaged forever after getting these shots. And when he said that, we were just like, that's the light bulb going on. We couldn't believe that he would come on TV and say something. If he was to come out and said that as a presidential candidate, he'd have been out and lost, because that would be political suicide. And he's got it to kind of walk the line of what he really believes in. But we know he knows about Lyme. We know he knows immunizations are poisoned right now. We know that he knows, none of the things that the left has said about him at all are true. He didn't cheat with Stormy Daniels. Why does no one ever bring up about Stormy Daniels? That Stormy Daniels claimed she was in an 18-month relationship on Anderson Cooper, but they had sex one time. What guy in the world has a girlfriend and keeps her hanging around and has sex one time in 18 months? That's pretty ridiculous, right? No one brings it up. I've never heard it mentioned anywhere once how ridiculous of an allegation that is. All these other girls got busted. Jessica Leeds, there was an English guy in the plane that saw her. She was lying. The reporter that was in his house supposedly doing an interview claims he pushed her against the wall. She was lying because a butler testified that she was there and he saw the whole thing and nothing happened. So these women have had people, in most cases, testify against them, and it's typical Democratic smear campaigns. People my age that have been around this world and that have been around long enough to remember what the government's done all these years, the government is not your friend. The government doesn't not spy on you. They spy on everyone. Every email you've ever written, every phone call you've ever made, it's somewhere stored. I mean, they collect information. This is what all governments do. And our government, the FBI, that's completely out in the open now, is being corrupt at the top levels. Not every agent, of course, there's a lot of good ones, and that are doing their job out of patriotic duty to the country. But the whole upper tier of the DOJ and FBI and DNC are completely corrupt, complete criminals, should be in prison, and none of them are in any trouble at all. Mueller's not doing anything about the Podesta brothers, who did all the same stuff as Paul Manafort, and it's all just an attempt to get back at Trump. Everything is to get back at Trump. So we're living in times where we're witnessing a modern-day miracle of this guy who made it in by a lot of different series of events that brought him in. And it's an amazing series of events that brought him in. We're blessed. We're blessed to be living in these times, and we're even more blessed that evil is so prideful that it shows itself in just lie after lie. This is where you see people, if you watch these beautiful walk-away testimonies on here, person after person, you just cry watching this stuff. It's so beautiful. And you get to see who your fellow Americans are, what kind of people they are, how good they really are. And they're every kind of person from every walk of life, and they're all on here, and they're pouring their hearts and their souls out. And it's like a religious experience. It really is. I've been to healing services, and I've seen conversions. And I've been to AA meetings and seen people that have broken. They've been broken and snapped in half, and they've come back from it. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing people that have been broken and have been attacked, and it's snapped them into waking up. And really, that's what a conversion is. A religious conversion is the same thing. And that's what we're having in our country. And luckily, we're fortunate the Democrats are giving it away, because they're showing who they are over and over, because they're so ridiculous. There's no subtlety. There's no careful thought behind any of this. It's just lie, smear, horrible accusation after accusation. The name Lucifer in the Bible means light bearer. That was the name given to the angel that fell, who was a seraphim angel like Archangel Michael. He was originally once a great angel, and then he became a fallen angel. This world, 1/3 of the angels fell with Lucifer. This world is swarming full of demons. And humanity's not awake to that exactly. Somehow we're spirit illiterate is the term I use. We don't understand that this is all spiritual war going on down here. Our whole life is a spiritual war. Whether we recognize it, believe it, acknowledge it, talk about it, it doesn't matter. It's the reality. If you're in war, in this life, you're in a war. And what you're here to do is to wake up. And this is what's happening with all of us on this site. People have all come on here, and they're all at various levels of waking up. So, now I'm being told this was 15 minutes. I've gone on that long. This is pretty good, I guess. I could say more. I'm just so happy to see everyone and say everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything important I left out. The Russian interfering in our election is a bunch of nonsense and a complete distraction point. America interferes in elections all over the world and always has. Every government does. President Obama, who we did support and pray for, and didn't like people lying about him either, but I actually voted for Obama because Willard Romney lied about everything, and his name isn't even Mitt, it's Willard. And people my age remember the movie Willard, about the guy that raised rats and his only friends were rats. Well, that's Willard for you. So Willard was so bad and so evil that I was like, I gotta vote Obama even as bad as Obama is. And McCain wanted to fight everyone. He would have us fighting Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Syria. Who else would even have us fighting? Everyone we could possibly fight, the guy wanted to fight. So Obama at least had a cool head. I don't know what he was up to spiritually. He's friends with Satanists. He's inspired by Saul Alinsky. He was advised by John Podesta, who was Bill Clinton's chief of staff and is an absolute, verified, cannibal, Satanist, pedophile. They have artwork all over their homes for this stuff, and it's real. And it's not some Pizzagate conspiracy theory. You can just look at the artwork in their homes. You don't need to read articles. You don't need to research deeply. You just need to say, enter in on a computer, Podesta art collection, and look at it. That's all you need to look at. Anyone that would have that stuff in their house, these are sick people. These are evil people. They're not a little bad. They're so bad that they probably kill babies and sacrifice them. That's how bad they are. So this is a very serious, serious thing. Evil is being conquered and defeated and driven out of our government. It's being driven out of power. And that's why there's a curse that goes on, a cursing ritual that goes on monthly against Trump and all who abet him, which is us. And it's still going on. And it takes place during the crescent moon, which is a symbol of the moon god. The moon god was around 1,000 years before Muhammad, at least, being worshipped by Mesopotamians and Assyrians and Egyptians, and all down through time these ancient cultures worshipped the moon god. And they gave human sacrifice to that moon god. So this is all very serious and very, very spiritual in nature. Like I said, even if you don't believe in the spiritual aspect, it doesn't matter. It's real. We can all agree we've never seen this level of hate before. And the good thing that this site is doing is God is using this site, and Brandon himself, who started this, to just do an amazing, beautiful thing, which is to just open things up for everyone to see. The exact opposite of what the Democrats are doing, which is to lie about everything. Here you have everyone being honest as they can possibly be. So, honesty is the best policy. It's what God wants. God wants light to shine into this world and into our hearts and into our spirits, and he wants us to spread that love. Well, you see the love spreading on this site, and it's a beautiful movement, and it's helping people. And I'm literally, as I watch every video, I'm seeing a person get healed. Every person that comes on this site is being healed as they speak, because they're pouring out their heart and soul. They're letting their emotions flow. They're scared, they're nervous, they're worried they're going to be attacked, because they have been, and they're finding out they have brothers and sisters in arms, comrades, that care about them. That's the thing. The lie is that no one cares about you. And when you find out that people do care about you, and that they're aligned with you, maybe not perfectly aligned, but they care about your free will, they care about you being able to live your life in peace without being attacked, and then you see the other side just like these beasts, just, setting things on fire and burning down their own neighborhoods, and Obama's making excuses for these black people who burn their own neighborhoods down. And then the shop owners come out and say, Why was this done? Why did they burn our shop down? I was nice to these same people their whole life. I gave them credit in my store, and they burned my store down. What does a riot like that do? A riot is a possessed mob. You saw Peter Strzok yesterday? He looked possessed. As he's talking, he's sneering, and he's laughing, and he's scowling, and he's looking like just not even a person. He's looking like a beast inside of him, speaking out. And some people can keep their composure, and some can't. And it's hilarious that Trump, of all people, is accused of being a bad person, when if you look at him for 70 years, and you talk to all the Democrats that got donations from him for the last at least 40 years, they never called him a racist. He opened up his clubs to the Jewish people and all the minorities that weren't allowed in golf clubs in Florida. He did work in Harlem and got the award with Rosa Parks, the Ellis Island Award. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories of the money. Yeah, he would get up every morning and read the newspaper, and he would look for someone in trouble, back before we had the internet. And he'd say, well, here's this lady about to lose her house, or here's this kid that's sick and needs an airplane flight. They won't take him somewhere for the right surgery. So he's been a righteous man. Another thing is they call him a coward, and they call him President Bone Spurs. They make fun of him getting out of Viet Nam. Well, who would have been stupid enough to want to go to Vietnam? Vietnam was a stupid war that we shouldn't have been in. And, if you served and you were brave enough to do it, God bless you, because to serve is to serve, and that's your free will. But to be drafted is another thing. Who would want to be drafted and thrown into that? We saw an interview with Gregg Allman, who's one of my favorite bands, the Allman Brothers. Gregg Allman shot himself in the foot so he wouldn't have to go to Vietnam, which I thought was cool. I was happy, that he did that. So all I can say about that is that President Trump's mom got mugged one day walking down the street in New York, and the guy snatched her purse, and a good Samaritan stopped the guy, got her purse back, and saved her from being hurt. Well, a couple days later, Donald Trump was riding in his limo and saw this guy getting beat in the street with a baseball bat. He jumped out of his limo and stopped the guy from doing it. So he's not some coward. He didn't avoid combat. He went to military school. You look at all the great generals he's hired. So everything they say about him is a lie. Maybe he was a playboy to some degree, a little bit, but not that bad. He was a lightweight playboy, and he mostly wanted to get married and have kids, and his kids are awesome. They couldn't be nicer people. They're always helping people. Eric Trump is attacked for raising money for little dying kids with cancer at St. Jude's Hospital. If you see an attack like that, you know that it's just completely unreasonable. So, these are just a few instances of all the many, many things I could talk about for hours here. And I could go on and on for another hour. So I'll just close it with saying that we love this site and we're grateful. And, we walked away because it was Donald Trump. If it would have been Ted Cruz, if it would have been Marco Rubio, if it would have been Scott Walker, God help us, if it would have been any of these kind of other Republicans that were also kind of evil or just scummy or, closet Freemasons like I think Cruz is, we wouldn't have voted Republican either, and we would have been stuck because we wouldn't have voted for Hillary. We'd have probably voted for Bernie or something, So, it was a bad situation, and Trump was the light in all of it. And it's funny because he's an unlikely character, and this is my last point that I want to make. If you become a Christian, if you read the Bible, and if you really understand it, God chooses real unlikely people, Brandon. People that didn't want this mission. If you're in the Catholic Church, priests that become exorcists, they all say, I didn't want this job, I was ordered to do it. Then after they do it, they love it. But they didn't want it because who wants to be attacked and hurt all the time and ostracized and ridiculed, You look through the Bible, Moses was the mouthpiece of God for the Hebrew people. He was a stutterer and a murderer. Paul became the most prolific writer of the New Testament. He used to attack and kill Christians or have a hand in it. And he was there holding cloaks while they stoned the first Christian to death. So God chooses real unlikely people. Donald Trump is an unlikely person. But he's not unholy. He prays. He's had hands laid on him hundreds of times, according to people that know him. And we have videos of it. So he really believes in the Holy Spirit. He really believes in prayer. He really believes in the police and the military. And you can see what he's doing for the country. Everyone can see it. And the Dems are just freaking out, furious about it, because look what a good job he's literally he's done almost everything right except pick Manafort. That's like the only mistake he made. And, he's just doing a fantastic job. And Brandon and all you people on the walkaway, you're part of something fantastic and beautiful. and holy, whether you know it or not. You're really, really helping people in this life and in this world. Each person that comes on here is like a little spark of light, and it's building into a big, giant, bursting light, and it's going to move out all through society. It's at 100 and something thousand now. I bet this site's going to make it to 1 million. I really do. And let's just keep it moving and going. And God bless all of you. We love you. My wife's going to do one too. I'd put my son on here if it was allowed, because he loves Trump, and he even at just turning 9 has the discernment to know who the good one is. So it's true. And God bless all of you. Signing off.